Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. This is Rustin Edwards live from Geneva with my illustrious co-host, Matt Stanley, and welcome to another fun-filled, exciting edition of the Smoking Barrel.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm excited. My phone broke
Yeah.
last week. That was like the end of the world. I mean, I mean, it wasn't because apparently it's quite liberating when you don't have a phone on you all the time, but it's not. You feel like you're missing out. It's like, what's going on? Like, and you kind of realize where you got your news from before, and you know, it was, yeah. Anyway, it's all sorted now, apparently.
Well, that's good. Well, that's good. Going incognito is always great, especially if you're traveling around. Nobody can track where you're at. It makes it
Yeah,
when you
that's true.
those late night sessions discussing oil markets and trade flows that you can do it with the peace and quiet.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I should be moving house soon, so the Smoking Barrel Middle East division will be coming at you from a new address pretty soon. But we'll see. It's all go. Summer is here. It's 39 degrees today.
Ooh,
So
wonderful.
it's yeah, it's let's just say the school pickup is challenging. Anyway,
Well, hey, speaking of pickup, there is no pickup in the oil markets as we're moving lower on the day.
yeah.
We've been moving lower on the week, I should say, not on the day. We've got Brent crude currently at 83.02, and we got WTI 78.89, down off the highs, but not on the lows.
I mean, I'm just looking here so far in May. The high has been 84.53 and the low has been, well, it was yesterday actually. The low was 81.05. Very range bound. The range has moved lower. Um, we've come off the I don't know what the right word is to use, but the Middle East tensions in the Middle East caused prices to spike up to about 92 and a half bucks a barrel for Brent. That was on the 12th of April.
Right.
Now, the as far as I'm aware, the Bab-el Mandeb issues are still very much there. I don't think it's been reported as much, but
Well, I think what you've seen is that enough ships have now skirted the area where the amount of available targets has become zero. There's still the odd ship that gets shot at. The Houthis have taken fire at U.S. military and I think UK military vessels in the area as well. Uh,
yeah.
but okay, those ships are designed to protect themselves and to return fire, so that's kind of you're playing with a lot of fire in that regard. So, God, too much fire in that word, that sentence.
Would
But
you?
nevertheless, it is something that I think enough ships have rerouted around that that's become the new norm now.
So would you say that's mission accomplished for the Houthi rebels? I mean, I don't even know what to
But
even say
what
there.
did they accomplish? I mean, so okay, they basically scared a bunch of ships away from the Straits of Bab-el Mandeb. They've hurt the Egyptian economy because the Egyptians aren't taking the revenue in from the canal. They put a bit of pressure on the Saudis because okay, that's limited the availability of freight to load export cargoes out of Yanbu and other export facilities in the Red Sea. And it's also given the Saudis a bit of an issue with their summer fuel oil burn because the majority of the high sulfur fuel that they would use in their utility would go into the Red Sea. So yeah, if they wanted to accomplish to put a thorn in the side of the Egyptians and the Saudis, they've accomplished it. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking on our fancy map that Kepler have. And it's, I mean, okay, look, one boat here, Indonesian crew and owned. That's what it says on the AIS signal when that's pinging.
yep.
We've got here Indian crew, armed guard on board, Russian crew, Chinese owner and crew. It's a very sad state of affairs that we're in when, the China and Chinese ships. These are what the IRS are mentioning. It's a very sad state of affairs when maritime security gets to the point where the master has got to write the crew are not European, no contact in Israel, whatever it may be. I find it quite heartbreaking if I'm honest with you.
Well, it is very heartbreaking, being a former mariner myself. I mean, to see that sailors are being used as pawns in this game, and not even pawns with any real knight or queen behind them. They're just out there on their own and being used as fodder. It is sad state of affairs because you're not armed. You have no defense whatsoever.
No,
Uh,
you're right.
and
You're just
so,
being leveraged, like, and completely bankrupt on the moral compass. You know, I mean, it's funny because not funny. So none of this is funny, but it's funny how the conversations progress. And I was having a chat with someone the other day. Still, we're talking about shipping, but someone said to me, "God, I bet the Red Sea cruise industry is on its arse." I went, "That's interesting. I hadn't really, I hadn't really thought about that because I suppose if the cruise industry in the Middle East is." Sorry, I know this is your favorite energy podcast. We shouldn't be talking about cruises, but
why not put
it's
some
all
tourism
linked.
in there whatsoever? That's okay.
Let me land, people. Let me land. But there's a new cruise terminal in Dubai, right by the harbour. It's very nice and flash. But you would kind of think, okay, well, that's picking up. Okay, through the Suez Canal. What a thing to experience. Down the Red Sea, beautiful. Do a bit of snorkeling. Round past Yemen, up Oman, and then dock in Dubai, and then maybe go up to Qatar or wherever it would be. That's dead, right? I mean, that has got to that can't exist anymore, right?
Well, I mean, you think of that, and then also you think, okay, we're going into the Hajj, I believe, kicks off in July this year in
Yeah, I
Saudi
think maybe
Arabia.
June or yeah, definitely
Uh,
middle of
but
summer. Yeah,
and there were a fair amount of pilgrims who came in via boat, via ship. I mean, how's that going to impact people's ability to actually perform the Hajj?
yeah, yeah. I mean,
But
it's
nevertheless, it is, the Houthis and their squeeze on the Straits of Bab-el-Mandeb. Okay, it has changed the flows. The flows are done, and the changes have happened. The extra cost is now rolled into the cost structure of goods because if you look at the recent PPI data, it's all been going higher. So producer prices show the cost of goods and services as they come into the company, which should reflect the cost of inland freight, and all that's moved up over the last couple of months because the higher cost of freight of moving goods around the Cape of Africa versus going through the Red Sea.
I mean
So
it's I mean I hate to use the term, but it's baked into the cake now, isn't it? You know, it's
yes.
not suddenly there's going to be I don't know, we'll talk about inflation later, but I mean, it's not suddenly you'll see a sort of short-term spike in the cost of things. It's pretty settled now, right?
Yeah, but the spike happened. I mean, when the Houthis
Yeah.
kicked off their attacks, there was a spike in freight. Container freight was in the doldrums. It took a big spike up because now they could charge more for moving boxes because they had to go around Africa. And it's rerouted all the freight. I mean, if you look at the bunker demand numbers that we had in Rotterdam and Singapore, when this all kicked off, bunker demand went up rather nicely in those two major market hubs. And now it's kind of settled down a bit.
Yeah.
Again, shipping companies have disbanded up. But one of the most interesting things about all this is the amount of high sulfur fuel that has gone into the bunker pool versus VLSFO. So there's been a dramatic shift in the ratio of high sulfur to VLSFO in both Rotterdam and in Singapore, where there's been a grand uptick in high sulfur because a lot of the ships that are running on the routes from Europe to Asia around Africa are scrubber fitted vessels.
This is an interesting one. Would you say? I mean, it's always the way, isn't it? You know, when Russia invaded Ukraine, Europe ran out of gas. Everyone went, "I'll burn coal." No one went, "No, you can't do that because you've got to protect the dolphin." Right? Everyone just went, "Sod it. We need power." If the environmental argument is still very much there, but it kind of got parked because people were more concerned about energy security.
Well, I
Now,
mean, people were very concerned about being able to make sure that their population, A, could turn their lights on, and B, heat their homes.
right, exactly. But let's say, for example, if a boat can't get the bunker fuel it needs regulatory wise because certain routes have been shut down, would that port authority, a maritime authority, would it enforce the same regulations as thoroughly if the issues weren't there? Okay, let's say for
Well,
example,
so if you're a ship that's a non-scrubber fitted ship, as an example, and
yeah,
you go into a port where there is no point 0.5 fuel available, but you need point 0.5 fuel to operate, um,
regulatory wise,
regulatory wise,
yeah,
you have a statement you can make to your flag state and to your class society that gives you the option to load an alternative fuel because there is a non-supply point.
really,
Yes. There is something in the regulations that allows you to do that.
A bit like when I didn't want to go to jury service and my mum wrote a letter.
Kind of like that,
Kind
but
of.
not.
Thanks, mum.
You
So you can if you a non-scrubber fitted, you're going from Singapore to I don't know Shandong, right, in China,
Well,
and you
let's
need
just say
two KT.
let's just say you're going Singapore to Rotterdam. Let's put it in that
Yeah.
perspective. You're trucking along, and all of a sudden you've had an issue, and you're out of fuel. And the only available fuel that you can get is high sulfur fuel in the next available port that you're arriving in. Now, in that case, you can write, do this not, you have an emergency situation or an out of class situation. You can write a notice to class and to your flag state saying, hey, here's the problem. I need to buy high sulfur fuel. Can I please get a term waiver? And most likely you will get a waiver. You can load that one bunker stem of high sulfur fuel and carry on to your next port of call.
What's to stop you doing that forever? Like suddenly, say
Well,
suddenly you went,
again, you have to get approval from your class and from your flag state. And so if you're class society, you start, putting in these non-supply points regularly, your class society is probably going to say, yeah, okay, no, there's a game. You're playing a game here.
well, I didn't know that. Okay, that's really interesting. Okay, so you said this influx of high sulfur, and we've seen it. We saw 4 VLCCs of high sulfur load from Fujairah end up in Singapore. Is there a sort of trading opportunity there? If you think because of shipping constraints like Bab-el Mandeb, there is not going to be enough 0.5 in the port of Singapore, but I can buy high sulfur, which is cheap. And you've got a sort of captive market because someone is saying, well, I've got a boat and I need fuel. So you
Yeah,
can actually, there's a trading game.
but you're going to be a scrubber fitted ship. You're not going to be a non-scrubber fitted ship loading high sulfur fuel in Singapore. As
Yeah,
far
but if you said there's no 0.5,
Yeah, well, okay. I think you're stretching a point of making a point of incredulous truth there, that there will always be 0.5 available in certain markets. It just depends on the price. And price is not an issue for non-compliance. You physically have to be out of oil.
thought we were onto something then, people.
Yeah, no, no.
No. Oh, you can't blame a guy for trying.
But
Okay, so
but it has shown up in the demand numbers. I mean, so we have seen, when you think about it, a year ago, the ratio of high sulfur to VLSFO was roughly 2/3, 1/3, and
yeah.
it's now getting closer to 50-50. It's probably more like 55%, 45% in Singapore.
Is that because the new out are fitted with scrubbers?
Well, I think it's the fact that you have ships on long haul voyages with scrubber fitted that have come out of layup to help keep the supply chains moving, and which has increased incrementally the demand for high sulfur fuel. And also has reduced a bit of the demand for VLSFO because it's not like the overall bunker numbers in Singapore have gone up higher. There's still roughly around 4.2, 4.3 million tons a month. It's
Yeah.
just that split between high sulfur and VLSFO has shifted.
Do you see that trend continuing, that high sulfur will eventually
Well,
become the dominant fuel again?
I think it gets more to an equalized state, and I would give that probably another couple of years for that to happen. And I just say that because, as you get ships coming out of the shipyard with scrubbers fitted,
Yeah.
that's going to increase demand for high sulfur and reduce demand for VLSFO. So you probably do see a more market where they become equal participants in all your major hubs, not just leveraging one versus another.
Okay, let's balance this argument because I can hear Greta shouting. Maersk were on the radio this week. They had a new build container boat that delivered whenever it was, but she was in Jebel Ali. She was built to run solely off green methanol,
Yes, no,
right?
methanol, just methanol. Like, she can
Okay,
burn other methanol other than green.
okay, so she can run methanol. Now, where is in the maritime community that you're in, the shipping community, where the question? Okay, it's great reading about. Oh, I can bunker LNG, I can bunker ammonia, I can bunker unicorn tears, whatever bollocks people want to run. Where is it in the grand scheme of things? Take the whole shipping world at the moment. What percentage would you say is now sort of renewable green fuels that the shipping community is running on?
So first off, it's what's your definition of a renewable green fuel? That's the first thing you have to think about. If you want to say it's anything other than a petroleum-based or a fossil-based fuel, my guess is we're probably around 1%, maybe
1%. That
maybe
seems
less,
high. That seems high to me, 1%.
but less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
To get an actual number, who knows? But you have a lot of ships that are coming out that are dual fuel. They can run on methanol or normal fuel. And so that now you have the option to do one or the other, depending on what price you want to pay for what fuel and what's available, what you need to do for your regulatory compliance. You have a lot of companies that are burning biodiesel mixes, which reduces the amount of petroleum that they're running.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but
I
again,
mean,
it's only a certain percentage of ships, and it's only ships that have the ability to pass that cost structure on to customers that burn the biofuel mixes.
and is that why the penetration point is easier for container ships because you can amortize the cost over more people?
Well, no, it's the fact that you have demand in customers who want to have that green certificate on their cargo to show that they're doing something because they think that their customers,
Right.
i.e., let's take my favorite one, Nike, as an example. Nike moves shoes all around the world from factories to markets, and they think that they have customers who want to demand that they're moving everything green. So therefore, Nike wants to have green fuel on the ships that moves their fuel.
Hang on. Could Nike profit from that as well? Could they say, let's say, for example,
Well, and then they can actually increase the price of their product, saying, "Oh, it's green shipping, so we're going to add an extra 10 cents a shoe."
yeah. Whereas actually the
Because
cost of the green fuel could be, I don't know, 5 cents, but they could be charging the end user 20 cents.
they
They
could,
could
yes,
leverage it.
yes, they could leverage it.
Look, if anyone's listening from Nike, we don't want a lawsuit. We're not saying you're doing that. All right. So don't come after the smoking barrel. But other brands are available. Looking at your Reebok. No, it is. I wouldn't look.
But when you think about
I
the
don't see
whole,
that the conversation has really, or no, the conversation has moved on, but I don't see practically anything really happening. It's great having COP and saying, the Paris Accords. I know that we need to save Johnny Polar Bear, look after the dolphin, eat less tuna, all that kind of crap. But are people actually doing it? And shipping community, I think, what does it contribute? 15% of global carbon and sulfur dioxide emissions?
3%,
How
3%,
much?
3.
3. That's nothing, is it? Three is nothing. Why? Well, why are people coming down to the shipping community? It's nothing. No, but are you seeing things really move on? Money is going into
So,
renewable fuels on
so
boats.
the biggest problem you have in shipping is the first mover advantage. Nobody wants to put their flag in the sand and say all of our ships will be burning this type of fuel by this date. Because A, the technology is not there, the infrastructure is not there for a lot of these new fuels. I mean, when you think about green methanol, what does it take to grow any green methanol fuel? You need to have renewable hydrogen. Without renewable hydrogen, you cannot be green. And hydrogen is the key molecule in all the decarbonized fuels. When you think
Right.
about the molecule of ammonia, NH3, you got what is it? CO2 OH4 for methanol.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah. I
excuse
was
me
about to say that.
if
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
that wrong.
Yeah.
But you have those hydrogen molecules that need to be produced, that need to be green in nature in order to make green fuel. And that's where the big problem is that you don't have the investment currently being done on a large scale basis to create the green hydrogen for all the green renewable fuels. It's a $2 to $3 trillion investment in infrastructure that has to be done. And a lot of companies don't have the FID to make it happen.
Okay. Before we wrap up the shipping story, because I've got other things to talk about. What's a ton of high sulfur fuel oil worth now?
No, let's call it $500 a ton.
VLSFO?
Around 610.
Methanol.
What type of methanol?
Well, just whatever. I don't know. I don't know. No one's
If
ever asked me that.
you take a green methanol, you're now at around $2,500, $3,000 a ton on a fuel related basis, because it is a BTU that you have to think about when you start looking at some of these green fuels, because the green fuels do not have the same energy density as petroleum fuels.
So 5 times the cost.
So you have to burn twice as much to get the same energy density. So when you look at the relative factor of ammonia and methanol to VLSFO or HSFO, it's 2 for 1.
Yeah, I mean,
Get
look,
the same amount of work.
it's really interesting. I think that that is the brutal, inconvenient truth. And okay, forget ships. It doesn't really matter if you're moving a boat, a plane, a car, or a motorbike. If the fuel that needs to be part of the renewable argument isn't available or is way too expensive, it's not going to work. It's
Well,
just not.
it's something where either A, you have to have governments willing to accept the fact that you have an inflationary pressure that's going to build up over the next 10 years as these new fuels come into place because they're going to be more expensive, which is going to be it's the inlaid cost of all goods that get transported by ship. I mean, you're already seeing the fortresses being built around Europe and the United States when it comes to the green arguments, because just look at what EU and the United States have done to China. China is producing very cheap solar panels, very cheap electric vehicles. And what does Biden do? President Biden, we're going to put 100% tariff on imports from China for EVs and solar panels.
Yeah.
If you're going to embrace the green agenda, let's not start getting into this regional, I've got to support my green agenda and you have to support are we in this as a global economy? And if it's a
Yeah.
global economy, then the global competition win. If the Chinese can build a solar panel and ship it to the United States and dump the market, well, that's great, because then everybody can buy a solar panel, put it on their rooftop, and oh my God, you're now reducing emissions.
Yeah. No, you're right. And look, I mean, this is your favorite energy podcast, people, the Smoking Barrel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We're not all getting all green, renewable, but that's a nice segue because that Chinese tariff story, Jamie Dimon, the big boss of JP Morgan, he was on a 20-minute interview yesterday with Sky News, which is actually quite unusual for one of the big arguably probably the world's biggest banker, Solomon as well at Goldman's, but what
I'm
he
sure
said
Jamie
was,
Dimon can afford to take 20 minutes off.
well, exactly. Yeah, he's the only guy who can do it. But he made a good point yesterday. He said, look, there's no point going to war with China, but we have to treat them as you would a sort of trading competitor. Okay, it looks very dramatic about what's happening with the tariffs, but Biden wants to protect US jobs. The conversation shouldn't just be, right, you're out, we don't want you. It should be, you are going to be competitive with us. Here's a difficult conversation, but that's what people do. The Traffy and the Vitals and the Glencores, they talk to each other, and it's a tough conversation when it comes to negotiation. I get that. Now, just moving on quick from Biden, because Biden's going to dominate the second half of the year. So is Trump. Not if you're Stormy Daniels, but let's see what happens there. But
Ouch.
ouch. You're talking about inflationary pressures there, about what's going to happen with people having to buy green fuels. I mean, it's all everyone's been talking about this week, and me as well on one of my commentary. US inflation data was out yesterday. Now, put it into some context. Everyone's been looking what Jay Powell's been saying about interest rates. It's an inflation story. Interest rates are higher than they have been for the last 2 decades in a quest to bring down inflation, which has been stubbornly high. People thought it would come lower and interest rates would come lower with it, but it hasn't been. It's what did it come in yesterday? I think it was 3.5% forecast, and it came in at 3.4, and everyone was kind of like, "Oh, good, here we go." Yeah, but I think it's kind of a non-story, don't you?
Well, I think it's a non-story as well. I mean, yeah, the core inflation, which excludes the volatile energy and food prices, came in at 3.6 versus 3.7, and everybody's cheering like, "Oh my God, we're solving the inflation problem." I think it is a non-story because, again, it is a case that you get one little downtick and everybody celebrates, and what's the market reaction? You get a rally in crude prices, U.S. dollar gets sold, bonds get bought because everybody thinks there's going to be now a rate cut.
Yeah.
Yet, when you look at the PPI data that came out a couple of days earlier, it shows that PPI actually went up, and that feeds into inflation on a lag basis.
Yeah.
And so if your producer prices go up, that means inflation is going to go up as well as you get further, within another month, maybe 60 days, as people adjust prices because, oh, my cost of goods coming in my inputs went higher, so my exports have to, my output has to be higher. So I think everybody gets ahead of themselves. They cheer the fact that there's a data point that looks good, and then it'll be a trail of tears that happens afterwards.
Yeah, I agree. And just sticking on the sort of macro environment. I mean, I've mentioned a couple of times that people are wary about the fragile state of the global economy. Things seem to be doing all right. Maybe not as good. I don't know if people are ducking their head in the sand. But the one news story this morning that I think got kind of dismissed was Q1 GDP, quarter on quarter, Q1 in Japan came in at minus 0.5%, forecast minus 0.3, and previously it was up 0.1 quarter on quarter. People saw that as growth, Japan coming out of recession, it's stagflation story, whereas actually that's a really, really poor reading in Japan, which is probably what, fifth or sixth biggest economy in the world?
Yep. Yep. And now the concern people have is that, is Japan actually heading into stagflation?
Yeah.
Which is a condition that, if you're a child of the 1970s in the United States, you know it very well. It's no good for anybody when you get into a stagflationary environment.
Yeah.
Because you have low GDP growth and high cost, which doesn't end up well for anybody. And what ends up happening is usually you have to, what killed in the United States was the rapid increase of interest rates in the United States. So you ended up getting up to 18, 19% interest rates.
Yeah, that's
In
no good.
stagflation.
Well, look, moving on to seasonality and reporting things. 16th of May. Bloody hell. Where is 2024 gone? I know, on a plane, on Emirates. That's where it's gone. They announced their results this week, Emirates. They're now the world's most profitable airline. So you're welcome. Thanks. You're welcome.
Thank you, Kepler. Thank you, Matt Stanley, for supporting our business.
They look after me. It's all right. No, but it's extraordinary how 4 years ago, this time 4 years ago, we were sitting in front of our screens, not able to go anywhere.
Getting used to how screen functions.
Yeah, the only delivery that you were excited about was, oh, look, I've found somewhere that sells a black face mask, not one of these blue and white ones. And it was, days and afternoons in the pub were a thing of distant memory. And airlines arguably bore the brunt of it, as did the hospitality sector. And Emirates were no exception. Like, they had a brutal year. I forget what the numbers were for the year 2020, but billions lost. And then within a space of 3 years, they've turned it around to becoming bigger than Delta in terms of profitability, with a new airport that's going to be built down the road from here that will service 250 million people a year. It's an extraordinary turnaround. But anyway, enough about me trying to get up my platinum. It's all about what's happening in a couple of weeks. Memorial Day, what does that mean, Mr. Edwards? What does that signify?
That means that's summer gasoline season kickoff.
Driving season. That's
right. Driving season.
Yeah, and then 5 days after that, we've got the 1st of June, which signifies hurricane season in the Atlantic Basin around there. So 2 big points that have long been, the gasoline and clean traders of the world, what they've been waiting for, shippers, what they've been waiting for, what's going to happen. So Reed, my colleague, wrote a really good article on Monday. 2024 Atlantic hurricane season, a major risk factor to monitor.
That sounds like a recycled headline for the last 5 years.
Yeah, but it might be right this year. No, it's good. No, it's a very good article. But a lot of people have forecast. Last year, the Atlantic hurricane season was busy with a total of 20 named storms, the 4th highest of any year since 1950.
Yes, but, and how many of those storms made landfall?
Well, exactly. There wasn't much, was there? We saw Idalia struck a devastating blow to southeast Florida. This was the only U.S. hurricane that made landfall last year. Yeah. Now, that's to do with, you would know, the wind shear from Nina to...
Well, the upper atmosphere wind shear that can develop in the Gulf of Mexico that can knock down a hurricane. Plus, you have where the jet stream is at the time that the storms get formed. So I think there's actually more hurricanes running in the mid-Atlantic than there was anywhere in close to land, except for Idalia.
Yeah,
Anything that formed in the U.S. Gulf Coast got knocked down rather quickly. So it
yeah,
never really made landfall as a hurricane, more as like a depression or as a tropical storm.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, look, we've got unfortunately 2024 has the potential to be an extremely active season. University of Pennsylvania are currently predicting 33 named storms, which would be a new record. Now, look, I'm quoting the article verbatim. You should read it. Reach out to your friendly Keplerian; they will let you know. But market watchers have said that this hurricane season should be one of the most active over the last, well,
well, that's what
since
everybody's predicting because they're thinking, oh, we've got warm water temperature and we should have a strong storm season.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so that's the whole basis of the prediction. I mean, I don't want to be a naysayer and put the and be a Pollyanna saying everything's going to be all right. But again, the proof is always going to be into how many storms actually form, what's the wind shear at the time of the forming, where do they actually hit, if they hit anywhere.
Yeah,
But if you have 33 named storms and they all truck around the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, it's like, yep, there are 33 named storms, but it didn't impact anything when it came to
yeah.
oil flows or markets.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think that's what a lot of people look at. I mean, look, so I'm conscious. I know we're conscious of time, but I think that people are watching hurricane season more than ever because trade patterns have changed so much. Now, the US Gulf Coast accounts for 20% of global LNG flows, right? Seaborne LNG flows comes out the US Gulf Coast. What's happened since Russia are no longer able to export diesel and gasoline into Europe has meant that the Gulf Coast refiners have ramped up and a lot of that material has gone into Europe. If there is an active season and the platforms get knocked down, there's an issue in Port Arthur or Galveston or wherever it may be, I think it has a much bigger effect than people are anticipating. I really do.
Well,
And
it could because when you actually do think of the trade flows and what's happened, since I mean you've got a lot of Russian material going into South America, and that used to be the big export hub for Europe for U.S. Gulf Coast refineries was in the Latin America, South America. Now that's being displaced by Russian flow.
yeah,
You've got the Dangote refinery starting up, and they're supposed to be kicking off with their gasoline production sometime here in June. When their reformer comes online, they've got approval from the PPRA to start moving gasoline into the market, which is a great move forward. And
yeah,
Dangote exporting cargoes all over the world now has just been reported that they've got some straight run going into Europe, which, surprise, surprise, here's some more oil for you guys.
yeah,
Nevertheless, if you've got this disruption in flow because you do have a strong hurricane season, you could see markets in Europe actually get impacted because of the lack of diesel, the lack of gasoline coming out of the U.S. Gulf Coast into these markets. And so you could see some problems there.
yeah.
And also with crude oil flow, because you do have all the crude that gets exported out of the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, look, it's they've got the Dos Pacas refinery as well in Mexico that's going to start up the Trans Mountain pipeline. Is that
Really kicked
you know
off.
yeah, exactly. I mean, look, there's a lot, but I just think seasonally, I think the next couple of weeks are going to be really important. Couple of weeks we'll have OPEC meeting as well, which I know we'll discuss. And then Europe goes on holiday for a couple of months because it's June and July, and then why wouldn't you, right? Or
Well,
July,
July,
August.
August. July,
Yeah.
August.
Oh, sorry, 3 months.
We start
June,
school in June.
yeah. But yeah, no, look, it's sorry I wasn't around last week. I was in Singapore, but it was a very nice time. But we'll be back this time next week, won't we?
That we will. That we will. All right, everybody, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Smoking Barrel. Please click like, subscribe, pick us up on YouTube. We're going to try to get our Spotify account re-actualized because there was a bit of an issue there, so we'll get that one going. We'll see you all on LinkedIn, and happy trading.
Ciao.